So the dust has settled on that amazing South Africa versus New Zealand clash, an absolute classic. South Africa coming back so strongly with their bench to take it, and round 4 is a straight repeat. So this video is looking at the selection changes I would make for round 4. Let's get straight into it. We've had some time to review the game, read your amazing comments, so I'm fairly set on what I would do, but please let me know what you would do, and injuries could change, of course, so this is as I see it right now. Front row wise, it was a solid combination again. The starting front row didn't quite get the change in the scrum they would have wanted, but absolutely fine. And the bomb squad came on and did very well. But this is a chance to develop, to try new players as well. So I would change a winning team to look to the future as well and maybe improve. So I think I would bring in Thomas du Toit. You know, I'm a big fan of his. He can make a massive impact. Steenkamp's been absolutely fine, but that is the one change I would make in the front row, which is working very nicely. Second row wise, obviously it was a bit of a makeshift second row. Nortje, I thought, had a really good game. He's a very competent technician. I think that is the best description. You guys in the comment agree. He's not the biggest guy. He's not a big bruiser. So maybe that's not going for him, but he's done very well, and they are short on second row, so I think he stays. Etzebeth came on towards the end of the first half and looked really good. He's a man mountain, so if he is fit, which he should be, then he starts alongside Nortje, and that would allow Pieter-Steph du Toit to go back to blindside. Dixon wasn't at his best. He'll have better games. He may well come back onto the bench depending on injuries, because Khaleesi looks like he's got a knock to his face, maybe a broken cheekbone or something. So he is probably out. Who starts instead of him? Well, it's clearly Kwagga Smith, although he is just such an asset off the bench. So explosive, so hard to stop. His try was class. His pick and go work is next level. But he would absolutely start for me instead of Khaleesi. But that's a massive blow, because Khaleesi looks in really good form, really fit, really firing, an amazing leader, speaks so well as well, of course. And Wiese, as you guys said in the comment, I said he had a really good game. I think I gave him a 9 out of 10. You guys said it was probably his best game ever for the Springboks, and that probably is so. His fitness looked amazing. He's been working so hard in the gym, you can tell, during his ban. That's one advantage of a ban. And he didn't make any mistakes or do anything silly, so it was just a perfect game almost for Wiese on both sides of the ball, in the ruck as well. He was just immense. So obviously he retains over Elric Lowe, who would be the second choice, I guess. Scrum half is a tricky position because Reinach's been okay, but some of his passes are a little bit slow. He doesn't look overly impressive at the moment. He's getting on a bit. He's a player I really like, but I don't think he's saying, I must start. Williams obviously is an amazing impact player, but I think he deserves a start. Obviously the match winner last match. Give him a start. Just because he's great off the bench doesn't mean he shouldn't ever start. And I would give Reinach a rest and bring on Hendrikse as the replacement. So a bit of a change at 9, because this attack hasn't quite clicked. They were trying some new things for sure in that last game. A little bit overcomplicated, of course, for the interception, trying to force a few things. Can they make it click? Well, centres have been okay. Diolande was a beast in contact, tackling, counteracting was awesome. His attacking game isn't quite as good, although he put some good passes out as well. Could you change him? Well, maybe, but Andre Esterhuizen is injured anyway, so I don't think you change there. But later in the game, you can definitely bring a ball player in for him if you want to. But some really big work in defence, dominated those New Zealand outside backs, that's for sure. Creel, again, fairly quiet, another fairly quiet match. He moved to the wing and made a bit of a mistake for the second Clark try, where he bit in a bit too much and then had to turn and chase back. And I think it is worth trying something a bit different. We know what Creel can do. You've got the Canyu Am in the squad, but you've also got Kane and Moody back fit, and he could be the future. Am, yes, you could play him, but I think I'd try Moody. He could well be a class act, and he's got such a high ceiling. It'll be really excited to see if he can get a bit more out of this running attack. Colby, of course, had a decent game. No big errors, didn't quite get fully involved in the game, and they need to get in the ball in good positions a bit more. Arenza is certainly out with concussion for next week, so I think the experience from Mapimpi comes onto the wing there. He's obviously going to do a good shift. Excellent on the kick chase as well. A little bit taller than the other guys. Fassi at fullback showed some scary speed, maybe a bit loose on the kick sometimes, some wrong options when he made his big break. You could bring in LaRue to get a bit of extra handling in there, but I think stick with Fassi. I think he brings that extra pace to fullback. Brilliant high ball. and he probably is the future, and LaRue isn't, so I'd stick with him there. Then on the bench, what changes would I make? Well, I said Thomas Latoy I would probably bring in there. And then you'd be shuffling around depending on fitness. Morat, if he's fit, comes back in. If not, Dixon. Elric Lowe stays. Van Staden coming onto the bench instead of Smith. Then Hendrickse. And then the final change I would make is I think I would bring Libbok into the side. This guy is a talent. And as you guys reminded me in the comments, he makes a few mistakes, but so does Mugomezulu as well. They're quite similar in their amazing talent game breakers. I think Mugomezulu probably has a slightly higher ceiling, a bit more physical, a bit of a longer kick, although he did hook one kick wide as well, so they both make mistakes. And you guys have been pointing out that Libbok gets a bit more of the stick than Mugomezulu. But what about both of these guys? Pollard has been fine, he's been steady, but he hasn't really made an impact and he's not in the future. But could you have a Mugomezulu Libbok 1-2 with Libbok maybe coming on to 10 and Mugomezulu maybe going to 12 or fullback or something like that? That would be exciting. So I would fiddle with this team a bit. I think there is more to come from this team. They haven't been completely joined together in attack yet, and they are trying to look towards the future a bit as well. So I'd be very happy to see these changes. What would you do? Then on to New Zealand, so close. Their set piece was pretty good. The scrum held very strong. If Ethan de Groot is back fit, I would have him back starting with Williams on the bench. Williams did okay, didn't quite have that massive game we were hoping. I don't know if de Groot is fit or not. If not, Tuingafasi stays. Tuingafasi came on, had a good scrum, and then immediately got yellow carded, and that made a big difference in the game. Cards have been killing New Zealand in recent times, so Tuingafasi unfortunately cost them a bit there as well. Taylor had a brilliant game, so obviously stays. With Amua coming on, it's a good one too. Lomax was excellent with Tossie coming on this time. I think you made that change. See the youngster there, the massive youngster. You might as well look to the future as well, like I said, with South Africa. Second rows, well, Scott Barrett, if he was a new player, you'd say he doesn't look up to this level, but he has got more in him. He's had massive games for the All Blacks. Last game was not one of them. He's the captain. Do you drop in? Do you bring in Darry? But Darry's a new player as well, so I think you stick with him, but, you know, definitely eyes will be on him. It's a new team, so he doesn't have to stay as the captain. You've got Ardie Savea, who is a good leader as well, so maybe a little fortunate, I guess, in this scenario, but Barrett and Vai, I think they absolutely stay because you kind of have to with Darry on the bench. Ethan Blackadder, I said, had a really good game in my review, and plenty of you guys pointed out in the comments that sure, he works crazy hard, but is he having that impact? He's kind of just running around a bit like a crazy man, not quite having the effect on the game. Watching the game back, I can see what you're saying, but it is very useful having a guy on the spot all the time, working their arse off, quick as well. We did have a Finau coming on, although he gave away that really dozy maul penalty, so I don't think he's forced himself into the start, but I think Blackadder retains. Do you do something at 7? You could do quite a lot of things. Blackadder could play 7. Kane could carry on. Papali'i could play 7. Ardie Savea could move to 7. Kane tackled his heart out, but you need a bit more against South Africa. And I think it's worth trying Jacobson. He's been excellent in Super Rugby. You know, big lad, maybe it's a bit of a bigger back row. The carrying from Savea wasn't quite there in the first game against South Africa. He'll be absolutely desperate to show what he can do, burst some tackles. So a bit of a change in the pack there. Jacobson in at 7. At scrum half, what do you do? TJ Perenara, I thought initially had a pretty good game. Many of you guys said he is painfully slow getting the ball away, and that kind of is true, but also he's a good leader, some good skills, some good kicks. Maybe swap him around, give Ratimer a chance, really speed that game up, give South Africa something else to think about. I don't think Perenara has to start every game, although you could argue continuity with Mackenzie, who had another really good game, backing things up, didn't do anything crazy in this match, created really well, kicked well. He's obviously a lethal running threat as well, so Mackenzie carries on. In the centres, Geordie Barrett had a decent game, but I think there's definitely calls for Ioane to have a back seat here. Let's have a look at Proctor. I've been saying it since the beginning. He is the form 13 in Super Rugby. All the skills, good defence, good attack as well. Ioane looking a little lightweight. One of those rucks, he got rucked off so easily. He was so high. That's one of his big weaknesses. So I think it's worth having a look at another outside centre. Will Jordan might be a bit lucky to retain, but he is a class player. That was a poor game for him, but he's got a lot more in the tank and he'll want to show it. Caleb Clark had one of his best games for New Zealand. 2 tries, power, brilliant in the air, looking top draw. So impressed with him. Beauden Barrett, a mixed bag, so good coming onto the ball and passing at pace, but kicked a couple out on the full. But I don't think there's anything better to come in. You could juggle around with Jordan, but there's no point. Barrett, still a class act, so he retains. And then Tossie coming in to the replacement front row to show something different, like I said. Kane back to the bench, and I would bring in Satiti and have a 6-2 split. They need more impact in that last 20 minutes. Their bench was just a bit powder puff compared to South Africa in the first game. I know he's a young guy, but let's see what Satiti can do. He's explosive, a bit like RD Surveyor, a young RD Surveyor. So let's have a crack. They might as well give it a go. And like I said, swap around the scrum halves. And Anton Leonard-Brown covers everywhere. A bit harsh on Talea, of course. Let me know what you would do for South Africa and New Zealand. Those are the changes I would make and why. Pop all those comments below. Like, subscribe. That would be awesome. And I'll catch you next time.